Hello everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to the first episode of What If. What If is a web series I've decided to start for different reasons. This is going to be a series. This is episode 1 of season 1. What we're mainly going to be talking about is movies that almost were. The movies that almost got made, the movies that we wanted to get made, even the sequels we wanted to get made but never came to fruition. We'll probably even be doing the other movies that you probably never even knew about. Sequels that you may have not have wanted that never got, never came to fruition, or just terrible movies that never started or got off the ground. Today we're starting with probably one of the most controversial pieces of film history, especially superhero film history. We'll be talking about the infamous Spider-Man 4, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4, that never came to light. And I'm here to talk about what happened, why it didn't go, and basically the history behind it. And I'm going to give you like a couple well-known facts that people probably do not know about this film. Mainly, I was a big fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. They were my favorite. Me and my dad went to each one. We loved them to death. We got so excited waiting for the fourth one, and when the fourth one never came out, me and my father were very upset, and he never went to see the reboot. He absolutely refused. But today we're here to talk about what happened, what was going to be planned for it, and all that good stuff. And the good news is, a couple weeks ago, the leaked concept art for Spider-Man 4 came to fruition. It was released on Reddit and then released to the general public. I have found, I believe, each picture, there were a few pictures I didn't add in because I didn't really know what they meant. There was like a picture of Gwen Stacy looking out a window, and there was a picture of Mary Jane looking in a group of people. But basically I've grabbed all the action shots of the film, and we're basically going to be showing those over me talking, mainly because I want you to see all the like concept art images, because I was really excited about everything that was in this entire thing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The pictures will start right about now, so here we go. Alright, a brief history of what happened here. In 2008, Spider-Man 4 entered development, with Sam Raimi attached to direct and Maguire, Dunst, and the rest of the cast members to reprise their roles, except for Harry Osborn, played by James Franco, who died in Spider-Man 3. If you did not know that, you should have known that by now. That movie came out in 2007. Both the fourth and fifth film were planned at one time, and the idea of shooting them back to back, like Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, was the idea. There was even a sixth one talked about. And mainly, there would have been basically 3 more movies, and then it probably would have ended after that. However, Raimi stated in March of 2009 that only the fourth film was in development at the time, and that a fifth and sixth film those 2 films were actually a continuation of each other. The last 2 would have been a 2-parter movie to finish off Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I don't know what the term is for 6 movies, but I guess we'll just go with that. James Vanderbilt was hired in October 2007 to pen the screenplay, and he would go on to write Amazing Spider-Man when the film fell through. The initial reports in early 2007 that Sony Pictures would contact David Coep, who wrote the first Spider-Man film, as well, to help with the writing. The script was being rewritten by Gary Ross in October 2009 when it fell through with the other. Sony also engaged Vanderbilt to write scripts for Spider-Man 5 and Spider-Man 6. In 2008, Sam Raimi expressed interest in portraying the transformation of Dr. Kirk Connors, played by, I forget his name, in the first few Spider-Man films. Dylan Baker, what I believe was his name, and producer Grant Curtis were enthusiastic about the idea. Sam Raimi was also desired to have Bruce Campbell play a much larger role. He was going to play Quentin Beck. If you do not know who Quentin Beck is the guy who eventually turns into Mysterio. If you played the Spider-Man 2 video game or even read in the comics, Quentin Beck is Mysterio. And in this concept art, you will see Bruce Campbell drawn as Mysterio, and I believe the costume looks insanely good. It was reported in December 2009 that also John Malkovich was in negotiations to play the Vulture in the film, and you'll see that concept art as well, and that even looks amazing. You'll also be seeing some fan pictures in here, just a heads up for that. It was also reported that Anne Hathaway would play Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat, but there was also talks that the main reason that this movie fell through, this is one of the reasons, they could not pay Anne Hathaway enough money to come and play the role of Black Cat. That was one of the rumors that it fell through, but I don't believe that was the big rumor, so I'll move on. After the announcement of Anne Hathaway playing Felicia Hardy, aka Black Cat, it was also rumored that she could be playing a new superpowered figure called the Vultress, which is basically a female version of the Vulture. However, several years later, Raimi stated that Anne Hathaway was going to play Black Cat if the Spider-Man 4 had been made. The concept art, as of released in June 16th, showed the inclusion of the opening montage, Spider-Man going up against some C and D-list villains. And this was the cool part to me. Spider-Man would have been going up against a Grade B Sinister Six, which would have included the Mysterio, played by Bruce Campbell, Shocker, the Prowler, the Rhino in a onesie kind of thing, and the Vulture serving as the main antagonist for the film. Disagreements between Sony and Raimi threatened to push the film off the intended May. It was intended to be released May 6th of 2011. Sony Pictures announced in January 2010 that the plans for Spider-Man 4 had been canceled due to Raimi's withdrawal from the project. Raimi reportedly ended his participation due to the doubt that he could meet the May 6, 2011 release date, while at the same time upholding the film creatively. He admitted that he was very unhappy with the way Spider-Man 3 had turned out and was under pressure to make the fourth film the best that he could. Raimi purportedly went through 4 iterations of the script for Spider-Man 4, and he hated each one of them. And each one of them had different screenwriters, and it was quite insane. There was also talk of a Venom film, which I don't know how that could have worked out, mainly due to the fact that Venom died in Spider-Man 3. I'm also going to let you know a few known facts about what could have happened in Spider-Man 5 and 6. There was a rumor way back when that in Spider-Man 5 it was going to be the Lizard as the main villain, and at the end of Spider-Man 5 the main villain would have been revealed to be Carnage, because the sample from Dr. Connor's lab had turned red and attached to a student known as Cletus Cassidy. But as far as the Venom film goes, it was basically thrown in and out of stuff. Josh Trank even at one point was brought in to talk about directing the film, and he later went on to direct the Trainwreck You Know as a Fantastic Four. It has now been talked that Venom would be joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe along with all the other Spider-Man villains. But basically what I'd like to say here is that my thoughts of this Spider-Man film with a tiny Grade B Sinister Six kind of feel to it, I believe would have possibly fixed what happened in Spider-Man 3 if Sam Raimi was given enough time to do the film. Now, there was talk that Sam Raimi was saying that there was a great interest in doing a fourth film, but it never came to fruition. I know that Tobey Maguire was very upset that the film never came to fruition, as well as Kristen Dunst was very upset. Tobey Maguire went on record at one point and said that the film was so close, and he was saying that it was almost ready, but the day after that interview it was canceled, and he was known to be like completely pissed at what the writers and studio had done. And as of, well, now is July 2016, They were saying that Avi Arad, who was the main person to say, hey, we should have Venom in Spider-Man 3, most of the blame for the third movie has been put on him after years of speculation that Sam Raimi was the actual person who ruined Spider-Man 3. No, it was actually Avi Arad who ruined Spider-Man 3, not Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi wanted to do the third movie with Sandman and Vulture, but Avi Arad, as being the executive producer, said that they wanted to put in a darker tone and ended up with a raptor from Jurassic Park iteration of some awful kind of thing that most of us never ever want to talk about due to the fact that it is known as one of the worst superhero films of all time. Me, myself, I find it to be okay. It's a guilty pleasure movie for me. I hate the fact that Venom is like that, and I also hate emo Peter Parker. As of now, there's many concept art. You can find them all over the internet. They are everywhere. But my honest thoughts is that if I could have had this film series continued, I would have definitely chosen that this would have been continued. I was very upset when it was discontinued, and I do not think that it should have been discontinued, mainly because I believe if you had given Sam Raimi time, and I believe if you had gotten rid of the Avi Arad asshole who ruined Spider-Man 3, you would have had a great standalone trilogy where no one would have put anything else to ruin the film, because you can honestly tell a tone between Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 that Sam Raimi had full control and made two great and amazing movies, but the third one kind of just overpowered with some overconfidence indefinitely. It was a compensation movie by these producers, and they kind of ruined it. As you know, because Sony kind of ran Spider-Man into the ground, and we are all very glad that it is back home with Marvel. But, needless to say, I think that the film should have went on. I would have definitely loved to see Bruce Willis attempt to be Shocker. That was always my pick for Shocker. I think it would have been amazing to see him as Shocker. I'm not familiar with the Prowler, actually, weirdly enough, because I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I've never actually heard of the Prowler, which is a weird thing to me because the Prowler seems like a scary type villain, but I never actually have heard of them. The Rhino in the onesie suit I would have preferred over the mecha suit at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, because that just made me go, what is this and what is going on? And as from the pictures of the Vulture that I can see, it would have been a very large-scale mechanical suit. And if you have ever looked in the secrets of Amazing Spider-Man 2, you can see that the mechanical suit of the Vulture is in the background, and it's actually quite small compared to the concept art that Sam Raimi drew on here. But that's my honest-to-goodness thought on Spider-Man 4. Now as for Spider-Man 5, continuing a bit with that, having the Lizard do that, and the concept art that has been released for the Lizard, there is very few of it. It is hard to find across the internet, but when I saw it a couple of years ago, I liked it because the Lizard had an actual snout instead of this flat face thing that was in Amazing Spider-Man. And I thought that it looked more directly to the comic book Lizard. And as for Carnage for Spider-Man 6, I would have said that that was an interesting idea due to the fact I saw who they had to play Carnage as Cletus Cassidy in the last Spider-Man film, and it would have been the dude who played Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. And I know what you're thinking right now, that that's a terrible, terrible idea, Kyle. Why would you even call that good? Mainly because when I saw his work on the Bridge TV series that was abruptly canceled after 2 seasons, I was a viewer of that series. He had a more serious tone, and it just felt like he could go crazy at any point. And I did like him for the idea of Cletus Cassidy, because Cletus Cassidy is a complete out-of-control maniac who turns into an even more out-of-control maniac because he would be Carnage. But yes, this is what happened. This is why Spider-Man never continued with Sam Raimi, mainly due to the fact that Avi Arad fronted the idea to have this happen, and it was a terrible idea, and they should be ashamed of themselves because they ruined a childhood series for me, and they should all feel terrible for what they did to Spider-Man. And that is basically what I think about Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6. If you have anything to comment about anything I've just said in this episode, be sure to comment down below and let me know what you think about the information that I've found. If you want to comment on the concept art that I've revealed to you in this film, I believe I do have one fan art that was done very well. I believe I had a few others, and I will mention you in the comments if I can find your name on the picture. And just let me know what you think. Do you think Spider-Man 4 would have been good with what I told you about it? And do you really think that the Spider-Man 3 should have been the way that Sam Raimi intended, with Sandman and the Vulture and not Sandman and Venom, because it did kind of ruin it? And just let me know what you think. I mean, do you think this should have went on? Do you think that this should still happen even though it never will? And I'd love to know your thoughts on this, because it's just an issue that's been going on for a long time. A lot of people want to talk about it, and I'm here to talk about it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of What If. I'll have another episode coming soon. I don't know which one we'll be doing next. I have a whole list, and this is just the first episode of the season. We'll probably have about 10 episodes per season. Some episodes will be very long, like this one, and some episodes will be very short, as you probably will be able to tell eventually. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of What If. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel for more What If and more movie news and more movie reviews and all that good stuff, because I've been Nighthawk, and you all have a good night out there, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. See you all next time.